Alrighty, welcome back everyone to Phasmophobia. Hope you're all having a lovely day. We're going to cover Brownstone High School in today's hiding guide, the 7th part of this playlist. High School is the first large map we will cover in this playlist, and this is the only map that does not have official hiding spots. In other words, you can play from amateur all the way up to Apocalypse 3, and you will always have the same hiding spots. This is not always a bad thing, since you will always be certain that there is a spot available. That being said, the level of safeness in each hiding spot varies. As always, if you are entering a hiding spot, ensure that your equipment is turned off and that the ghost does not see you enter that hiding spot. Just like the other videos, there will be two parts, the first of which is an overview of the map, and that has all of the hiding spots, and the second part is the gameplay. They are all timestamped so you can skip ahead if you like. But without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so here we are on Brownstone High School, and as always, we will start off with the official hiding spots. Alright, now let's do the unofficial hiding spots real quick, and let's briefly talk about the red ones first, because there are quite a lot of them just scattered around on this map here, and they're basically pretty much all of the same. They are either like a shelf that you can hide behind that only like covers a small sliver of the room, or it's a chair that you can hide behind and you can kind of position your character so you're moving with the ghost. So if the ghost is going this way, then you move this way, and vice versa. Those are pretty much the red spots in a nutshell, and I'm not going to go into too much more detail about that because they're all going to perform basically the same. That being said, we will cover the other hiding areas. But we'll start off with the lobby here, and there are two pillars that are available when you walk in. And what you would do is you would just lean your character against the pillar here, and you'll be well hidden from the ghost. If the ghost is pathing back and forth this way, it's not going to see you hiding behind here or here. However, if the ghost decides to path into the lobby here, then you will have to loop around the pillar here, and that will block line of sight. And that being said, if you were to choose a pillar, the left one is more ideal because this pillar here has a small box in front of it that you can't walk on top of or through it. You would have to walk around it. And then let's go to the left side first, and there is a safe spot over here. And what you would do is you would just climb up on the side of this locker here, and you just go on top of it. It takes about 5 seconds to get up there, but once you're up there, the ghost won't be able to get you. And that spot is pretty good to get a visual. However, if the ghost is over here, or even all the way over here, then you might not be able to see the ghost at all because of render distance. Really, the only purpose of this spot here is to be safe from the ghost. That being said, this spot has strong potential of getting patched by the next update. So I wouldn't fully rely on that spot. You can use it while you still can. Then we'll go to the boys' locker room over here, and you can kind of loop the ghost around the lockers here. However, the lockers are pretty long, so you will speed up the ghost quite a bit. So I wouldn't really recommend looping here unless you got like no other option. And you could even hide behind this set of lockers here, and you'll be mostly safe, just as long as the ghost doesn't go far back into the locker room. And then classroom 3 over here, you do have a hiding spot over here. There is a little shelf on its side here that you can just hide behind. And there's also a little shelf here as well that kind of helps with it. You can either hide right here in this little corner here, and the ghost will have to go over here to see you, or what you can do is hide right beside this shelf here. And what will happen is the ghost would have to get real close up to this shelf to see you over top of it. And overall, I feel pretty safe in this spot here. Then we'll go under the stairs here, and this spot used to be a safe spot. It's not a safe spot anymore. If the ghost does go under the stairs, then it will see you and it will get you. However, if you do not want the ghost to get you as often, I'd recommend hiding behind this little locker right here. And you can kind of loop around the locker a little bit to block line of sight. And as long as the ghost does not get line of sight of you, you'll be pretty safe in that spot. Now, this spot can be a little terrifying at first because what happens is when the ghost goes upstairs, it sounds like it's right next to you or on top of you, even. And the indicator that the ghost is not by you is the heartbeats. If you hear heartbeats, then you're in a little bit of danger, but if you don't hear any at all, then you'll be pretty safe there. Then we'll go to classroom 13 over here, and there is a shelf just on an angle, kind of like this. It's not the safest spot because what happens is if the ghost goes over here, it will get line of sight of you. Then going up the left corridor over here, there are some bathroom stalls that you can hide in, and there are a total of 8 downstairs left side. And you can hide in any of them and you'll be relatively safe from the ghost. That being said, sometimes the ghost likes to path inside the stalls and can get you that way. So it's not the safest. Classroom 19 over here has a little shelf just in this corner here, and you can go pretty deep in there, and it would cover about this half of the classroom. It is better than the red spots because, at the very least, this covers half of the room, and the likelihood of the ghost going this far into the room is somewhat low, but stranger things have happened. And then the girls' locker room over here has something similar to the boys' locker room. You just loop around the lockers here and you'll be relatively safe. And just like with the boys' locker room, the ghost will speed up with line of sight when you are looping around the long side. Just like with the boys' locker room as well, you can hide behind the second set of lockers here. Science Classroom 2 has some tables that you can loop around and it won't get line of sight of you over top of it. It functions pretty similarly to the kitchen islands on Tanglewood and Willow and all that. And then moving over to Science Classroom 1, and it has something very similar to Science Classroom 2. You just loop around the tables there. And then cafeteria over here, I want to briefly talk about this red spot here. There is a table that you can kind of hide behind, and the ghost won't get line of sight of you. That being said, it can be pretty dangerous hiding there because what will happen is sometimes the ghost likes to path all the way through the cafeteria and then it will get line of sight of you that way. Or if the ghost is coming in from this side, then this spot here is functionally useless. But what is not useless is this table over here. What you would do is squish yourself into this table over here, and the ghost will stop in place when it gets line of sight of you. And so if you do not want the ghost to kill you, this spot is pretty solid. Then we'll go to the library over here, and there are a couple of spots that you can choose from. You can choose this spot here behind the desk here, and this spot is okay just as long as the ghost does not walk through the desk here, which tends to happen. There is also a looping spot at this bookshelf here, and you can loop around the ghost that way. There's also a hiding spot over here just behind this bookshelf here. And the odds of the ghost going back here are pretty low. This set of stairs is pretty similar to the other set of stairs from earlier. However, there is no locker on this side. Instead, you do have a chair, which you can use to block line of sight. However, if the ghost does go underneath the stairs pretty far, then it will see you and it will get you. And then going to the right corridor over here, there is a safe spot over here that you can hide in. And how this is set up is there's a locker kind of set up like this, and there's also a locker kind of set up like that. And what you would do is you would just walk into this corner here, and once the ghost gets line of sight of you, it will just stop in place. And this is a good area to get a visual of the ghost. However, just like with the other safe spots, this will likely get patched, so use it while you still can. Then up the right corridor, you do have more bathroom stalls. There is a total of 10, and they all function the same. So it doesn't matter which one you really hide in, the ghost has a somewhat equal chance of going in any of them. Classroom 9 over here has a pretty decent spot. There is a chair just kind of set up like this in the corner, and it blocks pretty much all of the room here. The only reason why it's not the safest is because what happens is the ghost can sometimes walk through the chair. But either way, I still feel relatively safe in that chair there. Classroom 11 has something pretty similar. However, it doesn't block as much line of sight in this room. It only covers about half of the room. And then before we go upstairs, I want to talk about Classroom 18. And this room is probably the most dangerous room in the map, aside from the gym, of course. So if you are trying to hide in Classroom 18, don't. Because what happens is, if you are hiding behind the globe here at this desk here, then you might think you're safe because you're blocking the door over here, but that's not really the safest because what happens is the ghost goes either this way or this way. If it passes by this window over here, it will get line of sight of you because the window is actually just one big hole in the wall and your head is basically exposed. And really, the only way you can hide from both of these sections here is if you're just leaning against this wall here, which I don't really recommend either. You're just better off hiding in the bathroom stalls or just going to classroom 9 behind that chair there. Now we'll go upstairs right side, and the first classroom that you'll see is classroom 25 here. And this spot has a pretty solid spot, and it's pretty reliable. So what you would do is you would just hide behind the filing cabinets here, and it would block quite a lot of the room here. The only way that the ghost will get line of sight of you is if it goes against the wall here. And the odds of that happening are pretty low. And we'll go to the upstairs right corridor. And just like with the downstairs bottom right, you have more bathrooms that you can hide in just inside of the stalls there. And they are all pretty decent. And then the storage room over here, there are some shelves that you can hide behind. However, if the ghost goes over on this side of the storage room, then what will happen is it will get line of sight of you. So keep that in mind. Next, let's go to classroom 31, and I want to talk about these shelves over here. Now, there are some bookshelves that are kind of on its side here, and this spot over here is pretty decent. It just blocks like 60% of the classroom, and you'll be relatively safe there. And this black spot over here, this actually used to be a safe spot. However, there is a critical problem with that spot. And that is, once you go inside of that spot, you will never be able to get back out. So you are stuck in that spot, and the only way to get out is if you leave the game. So do not hide there. But if you just hide on the second bookshelf here, on this side here, you'll still be okay. You won't get stuck there. Science Classroom 3 has a pretty interesting spot over here. And this has a chair that you can hide behind right here, and this blocks pretty much all of the line of sight that you need. And what would happen is Ghost would just path through these two rooms over here, and it wouldn't even see you over here. However, you need to position your character correctly because if you don't, then it will get line of sight of you. And I will show you more of that in game. The only way this spot is not safe is if the ghost goes over here, and it will get line of sight of you if it does go over there. But the odds of that happening are pretty much non-existent. Going to the other room in Science Classroom 3, and just like with the other science classrooms, you can loop around these tables here. And then going outside of the science classroom, just like with the foyer, you do have some pillars that you can kind of loop around, and I'd only use those if you're in a pinch, because you're basically right out in the open. Then let's go to the lecture hall over here, and there is a spot just behind this lectern over here that you can hide behind. The only problem with this spot is it's pretty far into the room, and it is a pretty big room. So I wouldn't really hide there unless you're already back there to begin with. Then let's go to classroom 21 over here, and there are some filing cabinets that you can hide behind. They're not as good as classroom 25 because the filing cabinets are closer to the middle of the room, but this still does block quite a bit of line of sight. Classroom 32 over here has a shelf that is kind of positioned like that, and there's also another shelf kind of like that. The problem with this spot is if the ghost just goes over here, it will get line of sight of you and it will get you. Then going up the left corridor over here, and you do have more bathrooms that you can hide in. They're all stalls that you can hide in, and you'll be relatively safe there. Classroom 35, on the other hand, has more filing cabinets that you can hide behind. And this one is not as safe because it doesn't block as much line of sight, but it is still pretty good. Storage room 1, on the other hand, has some shelves that you can hide in, and there's some in the middle here, there's some right here, and right here, kind of positioned all like that. And this is a pretty decent spot. However, what tends to happen is once the ghost goes kind of far into the room, it will get line of sight of you. And same with this spot. It will get line of sight of you once it gets pretty deep into the storage room over here. So if you've got no other option, then you can hide here and you should be okay, but the odds of the ghost going into the storage room over here are relatively high. So keep that in mind. And then science classroom 4 over here, just like with the other science classrooms, you can loop around the ghost around the tables there. And then you also have more pillars that you can loop around, but just like with over here, I'd only hide here if you're in a pinch or if you're in the open and you need a place to hide like now, because at the very least, these block line of sight, but they're not like dedicated hiding spots. And then we'll go into the gameplay and see how each of these hiding spots perform. Alright, so here we are on high school, and this is the only map that does not have official hiding spots. So in other words, you can play Amateur or Apocalypse 3, and you'll have the same number of hiding spots the entire time. Now let's start off with the lobby here. And you can actually hide behind these pillars here, and these block line of sight, and you can loop the ghost around it if you want. However, typically you want to use these for when the ghost just passes by and you need a quick place to hide. Or if the ghost comes into the lobby here, then you can loop around this pillar here accordingly. The left pillar here is better than this one over here since you don't have the box in the way. But other than that, it's kind of situational for which pillar you want to use. This spot over here, it takes a few seconds to get up here, but once you get up, the ghost will not be able to get you. So what happens is, whenever you are up here and the ghost sees you, what happens is the ghost just stops, but it still tries to speed up with line of sight, even though it is stationary. So if you do try to get off of this locker here, then it will be really fast when you get down. Another benefit with this spot here is you can get a decent visual. That being said, if the ghost is on the stairs there or on the other side of the school there, then you might not be able to see the ghost at all. And what happens is the ghost might be at that corner there, but you can't see it because of render distance. Same thing on the other side here. You might not be able to see the ghost because of the render distance. And then we'll briefly touch on the chairs and the little shelves here, all in this room. So if you are in a room with a chair like this, you just hide behind it and the ghost won't be able to see you. However, if the ghost goes onto your half of the classroom, then it will get line of sight of you and you might have to loop it to get out of here. Now, I don't really trust these desks here because before 0.11, the ghosts just walk right through them, and the ghost can also walk through the library desk still. Another downside with this desk here is that the ghost can reach you on the other side of the desk here, which I think is new for 0.11. I don't think that's the case. This desk is still pretty useless beforehand since it used to go right through the desk anyways. But also the ghost does not go through these tables here, so you can kind of navigate your way through them, but I don't really recommend these for looping or anything. And then these shelves here, you'll find them in most of the classrooms here, but the problem with these is they only cover like 30% of the room anyways. So if the ghost goes deep into the classroom, then it will get line of sight of you pretty easily. And then we'll go to the locker room over here, and you can loop the ghost around these lockers here, but just be advised that the ghost can speed up with line of sight down these long stretches here. So you don't want to loop around these lockers for too long, otherwise it will get too fast. You could also hide behind the second set of lockers here, and the ghost is unlikely to come this far into this room, but there is always that chance, so keep an incense on you. And then classroom 2 over here has something similar to classroom 1 on the other side. You can hide behind the chair to break line of sight, or you can hide behind these little shelves here, and the ghost won't be able to see you unless it goes pretty deep into the room. Like I said, we're not going to cover them into too much detail because there are much better spots available, and they are pretty abundant on this map. This spot over here is pretty good. What you can do is either hide here, and the ghost will only get line of sight of you if it reaches that shelf there, or you could even hide here, and you might be able to get a visual of the ghost as well. Just keep in mind, if you are in this corner here, then the ghost will get line of sight of you if it gets close enough. That means the ghost can look over top of this shelf and see you and then get you. There's also this set of stairs here that you can hide underneath, and it is a decent hiding spot, but it used to be a lot better. This actually used to be a safe spot. So what would happen is the ghost would go over here, it would see you, but it can't get you. And if you had an electronic on you, it would sometimes go on the stairs above you instead. However, sometimes the ghost likes to path down here, and it will get line of sight of you, and it will get you now because the player model has got bigger. However, kind of a counter to that is this locker over here. You can hide behind this locker here, and it does block line of sight. If the ghost does enter this little area under the stairs, you can loop around the ghost and it won't be able to see you. Just make sure you're hugging this locker because you do not want the ghost to get line of sight of you. If it does get line of sight of you, then you will have to cleanse the ghost. Otherwise, you might die. Classroom 12 over here has a desk with a globe. The chair is on its side, so you can't hide behind the chair, but you can kind of hide behind this globe and block line of sight, and you can position the globe in front of the ghost at all times, and the ghost won't get line of sight of you. But this can be tricky to do, so I wouldn't really recommend this spot either. Classroom 13 over here has a shelf hiding spot that you can hide behind, and this one's okay. However, the ghost will get line of sight of you easily if it decides to path over here. But anywhere else, it's okay. Classrooms 14 to 16 have the shelves or the chairs, and then we have the bathrooms over here, which you can hide in the stalls here. Just make sure the door is closed, and then you're kind of far back into the stalls. That way, if the ghost does go into your stall, then you can cleanse the ghost with relatively quick succession. There's another bathroom over here that you can hide in the stalls. Then we have classroom 19 over here, and you also have one of these chairs here. And then you also have this shelf over here, which you can hide behind. It does take a little bit of effort to get inside, but what happens is you can line up this corner of the shelf with the corner of the classroom, and it covers about half. That being said, if the ghost does go into the classroom pretty deep, then it will get line of sight of you. The science classrooms have these little tables here that you can loop around, and these are pretty good looping spots. You can crouch around these tables here, and the ghost will not speed up with line of sight. And these just perform pretty similarly to the kitchen islands on like Tanglewood, for example. There's also the girls' locker room over here, which performs just like the boys' locker room. You can loop around this set of lockers, but just like with the boys' locker room, it can speed up with line of sight and get you over time. or you can hide behind the second set of lockers over here. The gym doesn't really have anything in terms of hiding, so don't bother going into this room if you're trying to escape the ghost. You can kind of loop the ghost around this basketball net, but the problem is it will get faster over time because it sees you at all times, and the ghost will get you no matter what. So if you have an incense on you, you might be able to do something with this spot, but I don't really recommend looping here. Then we have another science classroom that you can loop around the tables here. And then we go to classroom 11, and we do have a chair that is kind of in this corner of the room here. And what's different about this chair is you can cover a decent chunk of the room. That being said, if the ghost goes far into this room here, then it will see you. And then let's talk about classroom 18 real quick, because this room is actually pretty dangerous. So there isn't really a hiding spot in this room, and the shelf that you do have in here, it doesn't cover the door. But if you go over here behind the globe, then what happens is the ghost can see you through this window here, which is pretty dangerous. And I can demonstrate this by throwing a motion sensor through that window, and that's how the ghost can see you. Classroom 9 over here has a pretty decent hiding spot. This chair over here is pretty well into that corner, and you can just hide behind the chair like this, and the ghost is very unlikely to get you in this room. Just like with the other chairs, there's a pretty big collider on it, so the ghost won't be able to see you unless it goes like right into this corner here. We have more bathrooms over here, which you can hide in the stalls. Just close the door like that, and it just performs just like the other stalls on the other side of the school. Same thing over here. You can hide in the stalls. You can pick any of them, and you'll be relatively safe. Sometimes the ghost wants to go into the stalls, and in that case, I'd recommend having an incense on you. Then there's a spot just kind of at the right door over here. So we'll just open that up, and as you can see, there is the truck over there. But this spot over here, you can actually slip in here, and the ghost will not be able to get you no matter what. What will happen is, if the ghost comes over here into this hallway over here, and it sees you, it just stops in place. So this is another safe spot that you can hide in. You can also hide under the stairs if you like. However, the problem is it's no longer a safe spot. So if the ghost does path under the stairs, then it will get line of sight of you and get you. However, there is also a chair that you can hide behind, and it is a pretty decent spot for getting a visual of the ghost as well. Just keep in mind that if the ghost does go far into this area here, then it will see you and it will get you. And you can't really loop around this chair here. And then the cafeteria has another safe spot that you can hide in. You just slip into this little table here, and when the ghost comes into the cafeteria, it will just stop in place. But if you don't want to use a safe spot, then you can hide behind this little table here, and it covers about half of the cafeteria. But if the ghost does go onto this side of the cafeteria, then it will see you. You can also loop around these tables here, and they do kind of work, but it will speed up the ghost over time. Next, we go to the library, and there are a couple of spots that you can use. You can loop around the bookshelf here, and you'll be relatively safe. You could also hide behind this box here, and you can position the box behind the ghost, and it will not be able to see you. Just keep in mind that the ghost will walk through this desk here. It won't go the long way around. You can either hide behind this shelf here, or you can hide behind this shelf here. Both of these spots are about equal in my opinion, and if the ghost does get line of sight of you, then it will go in either one. And now let's go upstairs and into classroom 21, which is upstairs, kind of in the middle here. So you just enter this room here, and there are some filing cabinets that you can hide behind, and it is a pretty good hiding spot. Hello, Bone. Now we'll go to classroom 32 in the left corner over here, and there is a hiding spot you can hide in right here. However, keep in mind, when the ghost goes deep into the classroom here, it will get line of sight of you. There's some more bathroom stalls that you can hide in. Same with this room over here. And then we'll just go across the hall over here, and there is another filing cabinet that you can hide behind. And this does block about half of the classroom. So you can hide here and be somewhat safe. If the ghost does go deep into the classroom, then it will see you. Science classroom 4 over here, you have more tables that you can loop around, and they will block line of sight. Same with this table over here. Storage room 1 over here has a couple of spots that you can hide in. You can either hide in like these little crevices here in the shelves, and the ghost will not be able to see you unless it gets like right here, or you can hide right here in the middle. And even if the ghost is coming into the storage room over here, it still wouldn't be able to see you unless it gets like right here. And then just like with the lobby, you can hide / loop around the pillars here. However, it's not the safest since you're basically out in the open. Same with that pillar there. And then inside of the lecture hall here, you really only have one hiding spot here. And that is the lectern over here. You just hide behind this, and the ghost won't be able to see you unless it goes to like the back quarter of the room. Then we'll go to classroom 25 over here, and you do have some filing cabinets that you can hide behind. And this spot is pretty good. The ghost would have to go to like this little section over here for it to see you, and it doesn't happen that often. You have some more bathroom stalls over here that you can hide in. And same with this one. You just hide in the stalls, close the door. Ghost will not be able to see you unless it just walks into your stall randomly. Storage room 2 over here has a couple of spots, just like storage room 1. You can either hide behind here, and the ghost won't be able to see you unless it goes to here. Same thing with this spot over here. If the ghost goes over here, then it will see you. And then classroom 31 over here has a couple of shelves over here. And to use this spot, make sure you're hiding right here. It blocks about half of the classroom, but if you do try hiding in this spot here, this actually used to be a safe spot. However, if you do go inside, then what will happen is you will get stuck, and the only way to escape is to leave the game. Then we'll go to science classroom 3 over here, and there is a decent spot with this chair over here. You just squish yourself inside, make sure this post is lined up with that shelf over there, and the only way the ghost will see you is if it walks into this little section here. But otherwise, if it doesn't cross this part of the door here, then you're pretty safe in the spot. And then there's also more looping spots in this section of the classroom. And that is it for Brownstone High School. Just like in the other hiding guides, if you have any questions, feel free to post them down below and I will answer them as soon as I can. The next map we will cover is Prison, which has some interesting spots, so stay tuned for that. That is all that I have for you for today. Hope that this was helpful and informative, and until then, I will see you next time.